Hello, my friends. It is 4th of July, 2024, and I hope everyone is having a safe and fun and awesome holiday. I'm here drinking my tea, closing down my day relatively soon, and I just wanted to do a little talk on Course in Miracles again. I'm going to talk about the Holy Spirit and the shift into serving. Asking ourselves, especially first thing in the morning. I have a long-standing practice, something I read from Meister Eckhart, the 12th century German mystic, I think 12th century, where he said, if the only prayer we ever say is thank you, that would be enough. And I took that to heart. And every morning, most mornings, just an occasional slip of the mind, I wake up and have for a long time now, and I simply say thank you, thank you, thank you. 3 times. I don't know why. I like saying it 3 times. And, you know, like all practices, it starts very routine. Got to remind myself to say it. I don't feel it. What am I thankful for? I'm tired. I wouldn't mind sleeping an extra hour. And yet, as with all practices, it's not so much that it gets easier. It got more sincere, it got more intentful, and more meaningful, as well as more beautiful. And I wake up and I truly mean, thank you, thank you, thank you. This life has been gifted to me through nothing I've done on my own. I wake up, an entire world is existing for me, for my benefit, for my well-being, for my ability to maneuver through it. I have abundance of air that I can breathe. My heart is beating on its own. My blood is flowing on its own. I've done nothing to cause any of that. So indeed, thank you. But recently, very recently, I started thinking of waking up and asking, how may I serve? How may I be of service? What can I do to serve? Who may I serve? Variations of that question. And this is inspired by my work with A Course in Miracles. And who am I asking? I'm asking the Holy Spirit, which has been an issue for me throughout my practice since the early 90s with A Course in Miracles, as I largely left Christianity behind me. I don't mind the terms. I just never thought that I would be applying them towards myself. And having something as a sticking point for that long, it's a little weird. Something to work through, most definitely. I went to a Catholic school, and when I left the religion, it wasn't with any kind of defiance. I just simply felt it was no longer where my faith lied. I never thought much about it again. I didn't mind revisiting it in certain books. I didn't overly mind the Christian language in Course in Miracles because I understood innately. And then having read books on the Course in Miracles where they explain it, by right, it is actually better related to as Western form of Buddhism or a Western form of Vedanta. It has more in common with yoga than it does with traditional Christianity. And you don't need to believe the source of the book. We won't get into that right now. It doesn't matter because it's a psycho-spiritual text that is extremely helpful, maybe beyond helpful, maybe the end path that we need to set ourselves free or be set free, as the case may be. But Holy Spirit sort of baffled me. Didn't bother me, but it baffled me. But it's making more sense. That the Holy Spirit, you see, the cosmology of A Course in Miracles is that we never got kicked out of the garden. We've never been separate from God. That we are dreaming an illusory world while still being safely held in the arms and the embrace of God. So this world isn't of God's making, it's of our own making, where they say in A Course that, it was a tiny mad idea in which we remembered not to laugh, or we remember to forget. We remember to forget not to laugh, if I get that correct. And that can certainly feel like maybe we're separate from God if we're dreaming in an illusory world. We all know that when we're dreaming, our non-dreaming world doesn't seem to exist. It's only when we wake up that we know. And A Course in Miracles is a course in awakening. Fortunately, we are not left alone. We have the Holy Spirit. Now, the Holy Spirit doesn't relate to the Trinity in Christianity. It relates to a mediator between our sleeping self embraced in the arms of God, or the universe, or life, or reality. Let's just say love. And here, this world, to return to the Holy Spirit so that we hear the guidance of God. And again, not to get caught in semantics. If you feel better saying your highest self, if you feel better saying the universe, if you feel better saying love, absolutely fine. So the Holy Spirit is the voice of love. There are two voices in our heads at all time. One is the voice of the ego, and it's always wrong. It's always telling us to wish for more, grab for more. What's in it for me? Who serves me? How is this going to serve me? Stuff like that. The ego is always defending itself, because if it quits defending itself, then it ceases to exist. The ego is fear-based. Of course it's fear-based, because it's always fighting for something. Man, that would be exhausting. And yet the ego never seems to get exhausted. However, the other voice is the voice of the Holy Spirit. It's the voice of love, and it never steers us wrong. We just need to turn to it and practice a little bit, and we start hearing it clearly. So we wake up in the morning and we say, how may I serve? And the ego will say, it'll chime in, or it'll start to chime in, well, you may serve yourself, having some breakfast, or doing this, or doing that, or get out of bed and go to work. Something like that. I can't tell you what the Holy Spirit will say. You need to ask. But we know it'll be correct, and it will be loving. It'll have your best interest at heart. So we wake up, and we simply turn within, quietly, and we ask the Holy Spirit, how may I serve? And then we listen. Don't superimpose a voice of what we think the Holy Spirit might say. Well, you can go out and do something grand. You can build a temple. You can do this and do that. You know what I mean? The ego is going to come up with all these ideas. Don't believe it. Listen to the quiet. Remember in Moby Dick, Herman Melville says, quiet is the only voice of God. Silence is the only voice of God. Silence is the voice of the Holy Spirit. But it's a knowingness that will overcome us with practice. Not even with practice. Just because, as we know, especially in terms with the Course, everything happens now. So it seems to take practice, but the results are immediate. Give it a try. Let's see what happens. So with that, guys, I thank you for listening. Have a nice night and a safe holiday.